City of Stevens Point Personnel Committee meeting, recorded October 11, 2021.
It is 6 o'clock and the Personnel Committee is called to order. And if Manager Yakush would kindly call the roll.
Shore.
Here.
Zarazua.
Here.
Christensen.
Here.
Leek.
Here.
Dalton. Here.
Perfect attendance.
Perfect attendance.
I believe there is one discussion only item on the agenda pertaining to seasonal employees. And if you would please give us background, thanks.
Sure. So we have noticed over the recent months more difficulty in attracting candidates, especially for positions such as the seasonal parks employees. We actually had a vacancy for a school crossing guard. We've had a couple of retirements from that area. Perhaps not so much poll workers, but those are the types of positions that are not very well paid. They're just above minimum wage by a few dollars per hour. So Corey and I had actually been approached by Director Kramer to discuss this topic. And we kind of had a phone conversation instead because Director Kramer is off on vacation. He has just recently gotten married. And the CT and I spoke about this and felt that, you know, when we get closer to the end of the budget, if there is money available within the budget, because things are a bit tight this year, we want to review those positions and see, you know, what, if anything, can be done to start those wages. Now, a few years back, the City Council voted as part of a budget process, and I don't recall exactly how many years ago, that we would increase the wages of the seasonal employees, the school crossing guards, and the poll workers are done differently. That's done more by ordinance. But increase the other positions on the same annual basis, give them the COLA increase that all the other positions are afforded in the city. So we have been doing that. But even with that, you know, when you go past, name a fast food restaurant, right? And they're starting at $14, $15, $16 an hour. You know, that is difficult for us to meet for some of these positions. So Corey and I wanted to bring this before you tonight, and I know Corey has some additional information.
Thanks, please.
Sure. So as far as what these positions actually pay, it does depend a little bit on the position, but for 2021, the park seasonals, the lowest rate is $11.40 an hour. And there are, you know, quite a few that would be in that category. So then if we do the increase of 2.3%, which is what the increase will be for the overall pay plan, that brings them to $11.66 an hour. And, you know, just looking at other job postings out in the community, you know, we don't believe that $11.66 an hour is going to cut it. And then crossing guards are paid a little bit differently. Crossing guards are not paid by the hour, they're paid by the session, basically. And they're paid $10.97 a session. So again, about in that $11 an hour range. And then for the poll workers are paid $11 an hour, or if they are the head poll worker, they call it the chief inspector for that location, they're paid $13.50 an hour. So we're looking at, we've got a pretty good group that is right around the $11 an hour range. And, you know, seeing the postings for $13 or $14 or $15 an hour, you know, we believe that we need to do the best we can to try to find some money to do this. And I think that we should be able to. We might not be able to get it as high as we would like to, but we should be able to do something. So, and I should have more specifics for you as far as specifically how much money and what that works out to as far as a wage increase. 2 weeks from today, we have our special finance committee meeting to go over the operating budget. So, but we did want to have the initial conversation with you and also see if, you know, if you had any feedback or if there was any further information that you wanted us to gather. Another item that I should note is we also had one of the parks superintendents actually survey surrounding communities, Marshfield, Rapids, Marathon County, Portage County, and basically he found that the issue that we have is exactly the same as the entire area. Everyone is really struggling right now to fill these positions. The wage ranges are about $11 to $14 an hour, and even the entity at $14 an hour is still having problems. So certainly I think we probably all know, a little bit about what's going on as far as just an overall shortage of workers right now. So.
Thanks. If I could ask a question before turning to my colleagues, for how you are looking at this in relation to the budget and budget increase. I mean, it's this, so our having dealt with sidewalks last time, is this similar in that if we did this, this would be its own part of an increase?
So, well, with sidewalks, we were able to handle that with capital. So we were able to do a specific levy increase just for sidewalks and run it through the capital budget,
Okay.
which is a lot easier because that, of course, is not restricted. So the challenge that you have with wages is we still have to work within the levy limit restrictions from the state. So you can't really just raise taxes
Okay.
to add money to the operating budget. Now, one of the topics, however, that we will be talking about at finance, and I don't want to make this too confusing, is actually moving some money that's currently in the operating budget to the capital budget in order to make some room. And actually, that's definitely a component of this as far as why we would need to make that move to allow for some kind of an adjustment here, as well as to balance the total budget.
Thanks, very helpful. Questions from others on the committee?
Other than election years where the poll working hours are probably substantially more, what is kind of like the cumulative effect of, or cumulative hours that these jobs occur over the year?
Okay, sure. So you're trying to basically get at what are we looking at for a total
Yeah.
dollar amount? Okay, great, because that's the one that I ran. So I ran numbers for going to both $13 an hour and $15 an hour. And I think we're going to end up somewhere in between those two. But to get them all to $13 an hour, I came up with $54,000 in the operating budget. And then to get them all to 15, I came up with $135,000. So I don't know that we're going to make it to 15, just based on that dollar amount.
And that's parks, crossing guards, and poll workers all?
Correct.
Okay.
That is the whole works. Yep. So that's part of why that dollar amount is higher, is just because you are covering, a couple of different groups of people there.
Thanks. Anyone else?
It's not a question, but a
Please,
comment.
please.
Just, I guess something to consider in this is what this looks like for other city employees who see people that have a lower education level required for the job or lower skill level required, and seeing them getting bumped up and not having other city employees get that same bump. I don't know how we keep morale at the same level when this occurs.
Sure. Well, and wage challenges are out there, I would say across the board. We made an adjustment a few years ago to try to bring up the bottom end of the pay plan. And as a result of that, now for our regular full-time employees, no one makes less than $20 an hour. So, certainly, there still is some spread, between, the $20 and the either 13 or 14 or 15 that you would have. But I'm sure that it's something that we will, probably hear about. I guess, what I would say is we try to do the best we can given the, obviously the situation. For the regular employees, there will still be the 2.3% cost of living adjustment. And you also may have city employees that are eligible for steps as well. But I guess I would say, 2019, we added additional money to the pay plan. 2020, we did that again, focusing a little bit more on the bottom end. So, certainly we're trying to, I guess, take care of everyone here the best we can.
If I'm drawing the right inference from how this was set up for us, it's maybe that those annual increases on those lower amounts haven't been moving it very much.
Exactly.
If those are the last questions from the committee, and every time I've turned my head away, a hand has come up, so I'm staring at you all now. Okay. From any other alders or anyone else attending? Yes, Alder Nevone, I see you and recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just have a question, either for probably Lisa or Corey, it doesn't matter. How young can you be and be a seasonal employee, say, at the Parks Department? Can you be 16 or do you have to be 18?
And I would defer that question actually to Todd Ernster, who is one of the supervisors from Parks.
You could come up.
Oh, okay.
Then we have people on.
I'm wondering if we could hire younger people, if that would help fill some of those positions.
They can be 16. They have to have a driver's license.
Okay.
But generally, they're usually 18 or older is generally what we
Yeah.
do, especially with the equipment and some of the other things we have to use.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Pausing one more time for questions. And seeing none, any final comments?
Nope, we'll report back in a couple of weeks at the budget presentation on the 25th.
Thank you. The Personnel Committee's agenda is exhausted, and we are adjourned at 6:12.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.